So Carter Starocci didn't exactly look 100%. Should we be concerned? No, not really.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I mean, I'll be honest, certainly Starocci gave us a scare in that second round match, but it's about surviving and advancing. This is Locked On Nittany Lions. I'm your host, Zach Seyko, and thanks so much for making us your first listen and watch each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Check them out all today at nissanusa.com. And if you're not already, become an everyday or subscribe to Locked On Nittany Lions on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast for the latest conversations around your favorite Penn State sports teams. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Penn State gets 8 into the quarterfinals. They had 2 going to consies, but they responded accordingly. And Carter Starocci didn't exactly look 100%, and that's okay. It is absolutely okay with, we don't know how exactly the severity of the knee injury, the leg injury that was sustained back against Edinburgh in that senior day matchup. But I am not concerned because A, it's Carter Starocci. B, he's shaking off rust. You are going from wrestling against a non-conference weaker opponent in Edinburgh. So who knows the last time that Carter Starocci has seen this level of competition? I know he's in the Penn State wrestling mat room. I know that. So the competition is always fierce, no matter if he's sparring with someone or actually competing with someone. But I imagine that there was a gradual process to get him back to as close to 100% as possible. And that's the key phrasing here, as close to 100%. Carter says he's 100%, and I believe him. Everything's about mindset. If you have the mindset, you can do anything, and that's Carter's case here. But he certainly didn't look it. Why? I don't think it has anything to do with injury necessarily. I think it has to do with the fact that he's shaking off rust here. He didn't compete at Big Tens. He didn't see any types of caliber wrestlers that are trying to take him out. Again, going up against fellow teammates is one thing. That's practice. But to do it competitively is completely different when you're going up against actual competition. Did you see the size of that leg brace? That is a beast. That is a monster of a thing that has engulfed his leg, and it's to protect him. I think one of the national pundits pointed it out and said that looks like an ACL brace. I don't think it is. Now, I'm not going to pretend to play doctor here, but Carter's knee was allowed to bend. From what I know, I've never torn my ACL. I played sports in high school, but I never had a knee injury like that. But from what I know about those kinds of injuries is that you are going to wear a brace where your knee can bend as little as possible because it needs to heal, right? So in that case, it's more related to a hyperextended knee than to ligament damage. But that thing, and then you have to wrestle with that. You're not wrestling free anymore to that point, but you get victories. And I think another point here too, it's about surviving and advancing. Bonus points would be lovely, but in this case, it is about getting the 4th national title. So it doesn't matter if he wins 1-0, 4-3, whatever, 20-0 for all I care, or getting a pin. But he also has to save his strength. This is about winning X amount of matches in 3 days consecutively. And he's not wrestling from that number 1 spot. He doesn't get that, bye from the pigtail match moving forward. And he's already going to face the best of the best in Mekhi Lewis, not in the finals, but in that quarterfinal matchup going into Friday. But I think this was a case of playing chess. And Mekhi Lewis is certainly doing the same thing too, saving strength, saving energy for when you know you are going to face your toughest battle. Starocci certainly gave us a scare. Let's focus on that second round matchup because he did fine in the first round, did great in the first round. Gave up a takedown 7 seconds into the bout against Adam Camp of Cal Poly and an 8th seed respectively, right? Look at this as the 8th ranked wrestler at 174. But Carter did what he needed to do, rallied for a 5-3 victory, survive and advance. Bonus points are nice, but a win is a win. And that all counts the same in terms of the team standings, which Penn State leads, by the way, And then he beat number 24, Andre Sparks in Minnesota, 12-6, nearly pinned him, almost had bonus points, maybe should have, but besides that point, certainly looked better in the first round, as I've mentioned. But 2 matches in 8 hours on a not so perfect leg, it might be as close to 100% as possible. But when you have to wear that leg brace where you can't wrestle freely like you have had all season against the best of the best talent at this point in the season, yeah, there's definitely going to be a competitive disadvantage. He's chasing that 4-time title, and Lewis is going to be Friday in the quarterfinals at noon to get things started for sessions 3 and then going into 4. Now, I'm going to recap all of the wrestler performances here, not just Carter Starocci. So let's go to Aaron Brooks. Going a little bit of out of order here, but speaking of 4-time national title contenders here, Aaron Brooks is another one with the opportunity, and Brooks is in a class all on his own. If you've watched this show, you know firsthand that I've said this. Jeff has agreed. 19-4 tech fall over number 33, Evan Bates of Northwestern, and then a pin. The competition gets better, and you pin the number 17 seed, Joseph Novak of Wyoming. Brooks really is in a class of his own. I fully expect him to win the title. Yes, Trent Hidley is going to pose an issue, and I hope we get to see that matchup. I think that is going to be a great rematch here, but Brooks has won every single leg that they've met each other time in years past, whether it's freestyle, whether it's Greco-Roman, it doesn't matter. Brooks has taken Hidley and beaten him each and every time. So I fully expect him to win the title. Hidley is as close as it is going to get in terms of competition. He faces number 8, Stephen Buchanan of Oklahoma in the quarterfinal Friday at noon, as I mentioned. Again, going a little bit out of course, but I think it's important to focus on the number 1 seeds first and then finish up with the wrestlers that are in consolations, Aaron Nagao and Tyler Kasak. Braden Davis, true freshman, 125 pounds, not shying away. He's looking like a veteran in this case, but the spotlight is certainly not too bright for the true freshman. Nerves of steel, and he's wrestling like he's been there before. The second round matchup. Win by any means necessary. Same thing that applied to Carter. Same thing applies here with Braden Davis. How about that one? In the second round, when you go up against Brett Unger, who is a very tough matchup to draw in the second round, the number 17 seed, and you just do what is necessary. 2-1. Davis, again, who is a true freshman, rode him out the entire time to finish out the duel, to finish out that bout and win 2-1. The riding time advantage going to Davis and winning that matchup. And then Tristan Lujan is a very tough number 33. Don't let some of these seedings, these rankings fool you. Tristan Lujan is much better than that 33 spot. And Davis beat him 8-1 decisively, was so close to a major decision there. It doesn't get any easier, though. I am eager to see this one. Richard Figueroa of Arizona State, quarterfinal. He's the number 8 seed in this one. And it's just, it's a testament to how far Davis has come. Like Levi Haynes a season ago, and we'll discuss him opening up the next segment. We'll go to Mitchell Messenbrink in just a moment. But Davis kind of having the similar arc here and hopefully can win the title, whereas Haynes didn't. But Haynes turned a corner in the postseason. Davis is doing exactly just that. And then Mitchell Messenbrink to finish up this opening segment. Round 1, beat Max Mayfield of Northwestern. Tech fall, 18-2. And then a major decision against Brevin Casella of Binghamton. Getting much needed bonus points for Penn State's causes. They're chasing the scoring record, which we'll discuss in the final segment a little further. I love the way he wrestles. Everybody loves the way he wrestles. He just does not stop moving. He is very tough to get under control. But when you do have him under control, I want to highlight the good that Mitchell Messenbrink has done. However, there was a lot of concern from that Casella match. Messenbrink was ridden out almost the entire time to finish that match against Casella. Maybe he was just trying to waste time since he had the major secured up. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know what Cale Sanderson or Cody or anybody else who's in his corner that is telling him what to do here. But Casella had him tied up for a long time. And Casella, who is the number 15 seed, he's going to face Cam Amin, the number 10 seed, who he's beaten in the regular season. That's fine. I expect Messenbrink to move on, no issues. But Messenbrink certainly does have a weakness here, being on bottom. I wonder what happens. Now, fortunately, he's a 10 out of 10 everywhere else in his game. But if there is a weak link to Mitchell Messenbrink as a wrestler, it is being on bottom and being controlled from that spot. Mitchell Messenbrink is an A plus, 10 out of 10, perfect when it comes to wrestling on his feet. And that's why you see him just blitz his opponent with that type of scoring. Levi Haynes, Greg Kirkley, Bernie Truax, Bo Bartlett all moved on to the quarterfinals as well. Let's discuss their performances coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions. This episode is brought to you by the spring cleaning champions, Manscaped. This season, make sure to groom your carpets and the drapes with leaders in the below-the-waist grooming. Clear out that winter bush with Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0 and watch your confidence bloom like the springtime flowers. Embrace the season and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our special offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code LOCKEDON for 20% off and free shipping. Introducing the season's champ, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Their 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. It also features dual LED spotlights to guide you through the darkest winter debris. Navigate with confidence in your delicate areas. Hate making a mess? Not to worry anymore. This bad boy is waterproof. Shave in the shower, in the bath, or even the ocean if you really want to. Spring cleaning doesn't just apply to the nether regions. Get the full grooming experience with Manscaped's signature Beard Hedger Pro Kit and Handyman Electric Face Shaver. Whether you're looking to craft your signature look or clean up that neckline, these are always the right tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with code LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with code LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. Nothing like a little spring cleaning in your pants. Today's episode is also brought to you by Gametime. You got to download the Gametime app because you shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater events near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and their best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Now, I've used the Gametime app before myself. So I've used it multiple times, and those are my favorite features. Not only do you get last-minute tickets, but you get flash deals on those last-minute tickets, discounts on those last-minute tickets, and then having the image views of the seats. Getting to see the point of view, especially if you haven't been to a venue before. If you're going into a new place, I've gotten tickets when I've been out of state for events, and being able to see that point of view before going to the venue for the first time is very handy and certainly takes that guesswork away. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. All-in prices show your total upfront cost, so you know you're getting a great deal before you even go to check out. Buy the tickets in seconds with 2 taps. And they're obsessed with finding you ways to help you save money on your tickets. Gametime has those deals right up to the start of the event and even an hour after the event starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account. Use promo code LOCKEDON. That is LOCKEDON. Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN all day long on your TV? Do you have to turn down the volume with all of that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all of the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube and now on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every day. Levi Haynes, we'll begin with him and then go to Kirkley, Bartlett, and Truax before getting to Nagao and Kasak, who are now in consolations, and then looking at the team standings overall. But for Haynes, similar characterization here. like Aaron Brooks, in a class all on his own, defeats Isaac Wilcox of Ohio State 17-2 by tech fall. Teague Travis of Oklahoma State, the 16 seed, 19-4 by tech fall. Again, it's self-explanatory. There's really nothing to analyze. Levi Haynes, like his fellow teammates in an Aaron Brooks or Carter Starocci, just has a complete game. He's great on offense. He's even better on defense. I would side with his defensive side as opposed to his offensive side, but there are little to no weaknesses on either half of his wrestling game. Now, here's a rematch that wrestling fans should be eager to look for. Peyton Robb in the quarterfinal, 8 seed. That is a low seeding for what Peyton Robb has accomplished over his time as a collegiate wrestler. But for Peyton Robb, he is going to be looking for revenge. Remember, Levi Haynes, the reason when he turned the corner, it was because he was able to get through Peyton Robb not once, but twice at Big Tens and NCAAs. You mean to tell me that that's not personal? And then he beat Robb again this season. So there is a revenge factor here, and Robb's been wrestling really tough. I liked his performance against Will Lewan of Michigan, won that one decisively 11-6. So yeah, Robb, knowing that this is, his final run through NCAAs, certainly is going to have it out for Levi Haynes here, but I still fully expect Levi Haynes to win that one. It will be an exciting match. Greg Kirkfleet, this is his time. Discussed how Gable Steveson and the Mason Paris controlled the heavyweight spot. This is Greg Kirkfleet's, winning 19-3 by tech fall over Nick Willem of Indiana, and then a 9-1 major decision over Grady Grice. And he has a quarterfinal match against someone he's already beaten twice, and that is Nick Feldman of Ohio State. Kirkfleet is just too much for other heavyweight wrestlers. He truly is, because he's too athletic. He is too athletic for them. He's too quick. Let's take the Grice matchup, for example. Gets a takedown in a matter of seconds in your second round matchup, and then picks up 2 minutes and 40 seconds of riding time, not overall, in the first period. Right? That is difficult to do as it is, but Kirkfleet makes it look so easy. How do you compete with that? How do you compete with someone who's already as athletic as he is? He's too much offensively for these heavyweight wrestlers, and you would think, okay, maybe they'll be able to counter defensively and control better on bottom or in a ride-out situation. And no, Kirkfleet owns that as well. So he's wrestling Feldman tomorrow. He's beaten him twice this season. Kirkfleet, fully expect him to move on to semis, no problem. And then we go to Bo Bartlett, 141 pounds. Bartlett gave us a little bit of a scare too in the first round, just because that's the 31 seed. Cal Miller out of Maryland. You win. Don't look at the score per se, because it's a 6-1 decision. However, it took the final 50 seconds of that match for Bartlett to really get things going before he was able to get the takedown, get the near fall points, and win the way he did. But it's how you respond. Okay, so you don't get bonus points in the first round matchup where you should, but then Bartlett is the number 2 seed, follows it up with a pin against his next opponent, the 15 seed in Mitch Moore out of Rutgers. He's going to face a surprising one, Vance Vombauer out of Minnesota. Vombauer is the number 26 seed in this 141-pound bracket. Upset victory over Cale Happel of Northern Iowa. That was the number 7 seed in this bracket. So Vombauer is riding a little bit of a hot streak here. Bartlett has an easier matchup here, which is nice to set him up for the semifinals, but don't count anyone out clearly, because the 26th seed is right here in the quarterfinals. And then Bernie Truax at 184. Bernie Truax came out with a statement victory, and we've all kind of been wondering, when is Truax going to turn it on? Because he's a top 7 wrestler, but he's having these close bouts. And granted, he's facing tough people. Lenny Pinto, right? Just for an example, 184 has been very tough in the Big Ten. Isaiah Salazar out of Minnesota, but Truax has been right there. If you give him 10 or 15 more seconds to maneuver, or maybe starts 10 to 15 seconds earlier in those two hypothetical matchups, then he's the one that comes out on top. He was that close. Cam Pine defeats him out of Clarion, 18-3. Tech ball, bonus points again for Penn State's team cause. And then Colton Hawks, the number 11 seed, 4-2 decision over the wrestler out of Missouri. Truax came out firing. Again, he's been here. He has been here all this time. He's a 3-time All-American at other weight classes. Now, Dustin Plott, the number 3 wrestler, will certainly be a challenge, But if Truex can get past him, I say look out. Now, everyone was in a tizzy because Tyler Kasak and Aaron Nagao lost and went down to consolations early on. And yes, those losses were surprising, but they responded very well, very emphatically. Let's discuss on the other side of this break. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest. And just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys were able to take it to the next level. And how about the Oakland Golden Grizzlies? They are obviously this week's Nissan Rogue, and hopefully your bracket's not busted. The team absolutely surprised us all with a powerful performance in the first round upset against the Kentucky Wildcats, giving them their biggest win in program history. They say win life, go rogue, and that's exactly what the Golden Grizzlies have done here. Take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop all of them and more right now at nissanusa.com. That's nissanusa.com. Remember, if you're not already, become an everydayer. Subscribe to Locked On Nittany Lions on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts for the latest conversations around your favorite Penn State sports teams. In this final segment, Aaron Nagao, Tyler Kasak, an update on the team standings. Aaron Nagao, surprising loss, and it's not like this one was close. This was a 13-5 major decision when you were the 10 seed going up against the 23 seed, and nothing to take away from Marlon Yarbrough out of Virginia, but man, I was certainly shocked here because it felt like Nagao was really starting to pick it up. I don't want to say a roller coaster of a regular season, but battled illnesses from what we know and didn't really look like the wrestler that finished in 5th at Minnesota in the NCAAs last season. But then you go into consolations, you wrestle angry, you wrestle aggressive, you wrestle like yourself that we know that you can, and you win by tech fall 16-1. So you get some bonus points back in that situation. And I fully anticipate him to move on. He wrestles Julian Klebov out of Arizona State, the number 24 seed. He will advance in consolations, no issue there. But when you're the favorite, it certainly was shocking. And you didn't lose. Like, Kasak lost 4-2. You lost 13-5 by major decision. Nagao finished 5th a season ago. I'm glad he responded the way he did. And he can still do that. He can still finish 7th, 5th, right? He can wrestle for an actual placement when it's all said and done. You just have to go the long way through wrestlebacks. That's just it. You just have a long way to go to get back to the podium. He was never going to win a title this season because it is a stacked 133-pound weight class. When Vito Arujau is your 6th seed, he's your 6th seed, a world champion and a former NCAA champion, and he's the 6th seed. It's going to be tough to do. This is definitely still a long way through wrestlebacks, but Nagao certainly, he's going to contend for an All-America spot this year. Next year, I think, is when we're going to see Aaron Nagao at his finest. Tyler Kasak, true freshman. Jaden Abbas losing the Stanford wrestler 4-2. Now that one just stings. And it wasn't a matter of this one's disappointing. I'll start with that. It's disappointing not from the fact of, oh, Tyler Kasak, how dare he lose? But you had high hopes for him. Kind of like Braden Davis, kind of like Levi Haynes a season ago. It felt like Tyler Kasak was turning the corner, picking up on a hot streak, and really getting it going at the right time. And then Abbas, okay, this is the 26th seed, but let's not look past Abbas's credentials here. Abbas is a redshirt senior. He is a former All-American in 2021. This was the toughest draw you could have had in the opening round from Kasak's perspective. And Abbas is now a 4-time NCAA qualifier. The more experience paid off in this case. He's a smart wrestler, and I liked his interview too. I like that he gave props to Kasak, and he said he had to wrestle stingy, and that's exactly what he did. He gave Kasak little to nothing, and Kasak got little to nothing and got 2 points in the matter. It was close, but Kasak, I don't think this was a matter of nervousness, right? That the lights were too bright and he couldn't handle it. No, these were true freshman mistakes. You don't understand what it's like to be at NCAAs until you do it. And that's the case with Abbas, who's now been there 4 times. Okay. And again, he was an All-American in 2021. But look how he responded. Same thing like Nagao. 14-5 major decision over Drew Roberts out of a fellow Big Ten wrestler in Minnesota. Kasak is really going to have to get it going. Ethan Fernandez, the number 9 seed out of Cornell. That is the Friday session 3 noon matchup. Kasak is in for a good one. And this is, I would say, out of all the scenarios here, Kasak might be the first one out, but he can still win and wrestle his way back if Penn State's going to complete that 10 out of 10 All-America wrestler accolade. Let's look at the team standings to finish it up here. Penn State, for those who didn't see it, maybe you hate any of them, like the gambling side of it, but there were odds. There were odds out there. Penn State was an 1,800, a minus 1,800 favorite to win the NCAA championships. That would mean that you have to risk $1,800 to win $100 in a bet. They only lost the 2 in session 1, and then they went undefeated 10 out of 10 in session 2, 8 in the quarterfinals. 2 who can still roll through the consolations. The points record is certainly still attainable here. It definitely is, but they need at least 6 wrestlers, and that's being somewhat kind, somewhat generous. Ideally, you'd like all 8 of the quarterfinal wrestlers to make it to semis, but you need at least 6, and then those same 6 have to make it to the finals. Now, here's what the standings look like. Penn State is at the top, 34.5 points. They sit in first place. The state of Iowa is battling for second. Iowa State, 24.5. Iowa, 24.5. And Iowa did not have a good, for their standards, did not have a good first session, but the Hawkeyes responded. 24.5 points now. They had a really good second session. I hate to admit it, but they had a really good second session. Michigan was on top at that second spot because nobody else, again, Penn State was a minus 1,800 favorite going into this. Who's going to contend for that? They should have had odds for who was going to win second place. That would have been a better wager or something to look at. Michigan was in front after the first session, but now they have 22 points and they're tied with NC State, 22 points as well for that 4th and 5th spot. But those are your top 5. Penn State 34.5, Iowa State 24.5, Iowa 24.5, Michigan 22, NC State 22. And this day 2 is when you're really going to start to see the teams separate themselves. Nebraska's looked really good as well, even though they're not in that top 5. Everything starts at noon on your Friday, March 22nd. Again, when you're watching this episode, it will most likely be Friday for you, but at noon Eastern time and then 8 p.m. Eastern time for sessions 3 and 4. Again, I want to abstain from saying tomorrow for Friday because it depends when everyone's watching this and listening to it. Jeff Byers, I hope you listen to it because I enjoyed doing this, watching the stream of ESPN. And if you don't have ESPN Plus, or maybe if you have ESPN I have ESPN Plus, but I was able to watch the select mats. I got to admit, I was really disappointed in the overall coverage of the matches. How many Penn State wrestlers, for the people who watch the ESPN coverage, how many of you actually saw on the main feed Penn State wrestle head-to-head in any of that second session? Because I didn't see anything. I had to go to the individual mounts where there was no broadcast team and then link up Jeff Byers' call. That's how you do it. You link up Jeff's call on gopsusports.com with the ESPN stream and listen to it and watch it that way. So that is a life hack as a Penn State fan. Do that. Go to GoPSU Sports and link up the call and sync it with the ESPN stream. But unfortunately, I was really disappointed with ESPN's overall, the main broadcast feed, because they didn't see Bo Bartlett's pin. We saw a highlight, Miss Levi Haynes, and I'm like, where are these guys? Saw Braden Davis, and then didn't see really anybody else. And then when I went to the individual mats, that's where, able to watch Carter Starocci, able to watch Mitchell Messenbrink, Bernie Truex, Aaron Brooks. But that first half of the second session, didn't see any of Aaron Nagao on the main feed. I don't know. I'm going to do it that way moving forward, and you should too. Now, Jeff Byers is live for both of them, noon and 8 p.m. Eastern time for Friday for both sessions. GoPSUSports.com. If you like what we talk about here on Locked On Nittany Lions, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and wherever you get your podcast, let me know in the comments what you think about Penn State's performance through the first 2 sessions, and if they will break that scoring record. They still can. It's certainly attainable, even though they do have 2 in consolations. And for more discussions around your favorite Penn State sports teams, keep it right here on Locked On Nittany Lions.